What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Fireside Giants presented by Empire Sports Media. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today we are discussing the 2022 NFL Draft and the New York Giants' potential dream scenario in the first round. Now, everybody knows the Giants hold two first-round picks in this year's draft. Super exciting, number 5 and number 7 overall. This gives the Giants plenty of opportunities to draft some of the top prospects in this year's class, and it also gives them opportunities to maybe trade down and get a bunch of draft capital, maybe a king's ransom if teams are trying to move up to go ahead and draft a quarterback. So it's going to be a really exciting video. Let me know in the comments below what you think the dream scenario for your New York Giants is. What do you think their dream scenario should be? Who are the two players that you want in the top 10? Or if you want them to trade down, let me know in the comments, and make sure you let me know what you think of this dream scenario that my co-host Alex, who is not here with me today, helped me think up today. So let's dive into it. Number 5 overall, the New York Giants selecting Evan Neal, offensive tackle out of Alabama. Now, I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. I think the primary reason that this is a dream scenario is because I don't think everyone expects Evan Neal to actually fall to number 5 overall. I mean, Evan Neal is a phenomenal talent, and there are some mock drafts that have him going at number 5, and there's a couple reasons why. There's some analysts out there that believe the top teams in the draft that are picking at the top of the order, they believe that they have Ike Ekwonu as their number 1 tackle. Some of them might even have Charles Cross ahead of Evan Neal for one reason or another. But the consensus for most of the draft season has been Evan Neal as offensive tackle number 1 going inside the top 3. Now, there is a chance he falls outside of the top 5, again, because maybe a team has Ike Ekwonu as their number 1, so it pushes Evan Neal down. Or the other reason would be the quarterback situation leading into this 2022 NFL draft. Now, there's been a lot of buzz in the recent weeks, like pretty much started like last week once the pro days really got going. A lot of buzz surrounding Malik Willis as a potential top 2 to 5 pick. A lot of buzz surrounding Kenny Pickett as well, maybe sneaking his way inside the top 10, maybe even inside the top 5 if teams start to get really bold. So those two factors could actually push Evan Neal down the board and make him available at the number 5 overall pick. Again, it's unlikely, but this is a dream scenario. And I mean, honestly, if the Giants were able to draft Evan Neal at number 5, I would be over the moon. I said on Twitter yesterday when Alex tweeted this scenario with also the 7th overall pick that we're going to get into in a second, I said, if this dream scenario happens, I will do outrageous things for you guys on the live stream. Whatever the fans want to see me do, I'm going to go ahead and freaking do it if this dream scenario comes to fruition. So stay tuned to that. You know, we're going to live stream for the 2022 NFL draft. Definitely tune in. It was a lot of fun last year. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. So we're going to have a really great time. But let's dive back into the number 5 overall pick, Evan Neal, in this mock draft. So one of the reasons that I think that this is such a great selection because Evan Neal is an Alabama product at offensive tackle. And I think that gives him a cutting edge in the first year of his career, right? Day one, he should have a great impact. Guy like Charles Cross, Mississippi State, you know, that's a great school, but it's not Alabama. Alabama offensive and defensive linemen seem to have instant success in the NFL. And Evan Neal, being as phenomenal of a talent as he is, you know, going up against how much talent he went against in the SEC, playing for arguably the best college football team of the last, you know, ever, Alabama. I mean, he's faced all of the best competition, and he dominated all of the best competition. Evan Neal is extremely powerful. He didn't compete or participate at the 2022 NFL Scouting Combine, but man, he looked phenomenal at his pro day. There was actually a Giants scout. I couldn't tell who it was. It might have been actually a pretty high-ranking front office member, pulled Evan Neal aside and had a pretty long conversation with him from what I saw, you know, reading up on the pro day on Twitter. Evan Neal and a Giants executive or scout had a very long conversation. It seemed like the Giants were very heavily interested. I know that they've shown a lot of interest in all of the tackles at the top as well at Charles Cross's pro day. Bobby Johnson, our new offensive line coach, was out there on the field coaching him and helping him run through the drill. So that was pretty cool. So, I mean, at this point, it seems like a lock-in. The Giants are going with a tackle at number 5. It's just, will it be the dream scenario of Evan Neal, or will they be settling for, maybe you can't say settling, Ike Ekwonu is a phenomenal talent in his own right. Maybe they'll be settling for Charles Cross, who some don't fully believe is worthy of a top 5 selection. But anyway, I want to jump back into Evan Neal just a little bit more. One of the things that I noticed at his pro day, of course, Evan Neal played right tackle, I believe, as a freshman, then moved over to the left side of the line this past year, his final season in college. He did play left tackle. But at this pro day, he took snaps at both left tackle and right tackle. And some of the reps that he was doing at right tackle looked really good. Like, he was very powerful coming out of his stance on the right side. It was really impressive to see. And it's something that, you know, the Giants were keeping an eye on, because of course, they've got Andrew Thomas at left tackle. I don't think the Giants plan on moving him across the line. I think he took 2 years to really develop into what he is now at the left side. No point in trying to move him over to the right side and potentially stunting his development and growth into his 3rd season. So I think Andrew Thomas is locked in, going to remain at left tackle. And the Giants' mission now is to find a left tackle in this draft that they feel they can easily convert over to the right side of the line. And Evan Neal, in my opinion, since he does have previous playing time at right tackle in his early college career, and he's as talented as he is at left tackle, I think he's the best option to move over to the right side of the line. Again, he looked great at his pro day, taking snaps from the right tackle stance. So I really like what he brings to the table. A lot of power, really do it all, kind of, dominates in the running game, but also dominates in pass protection. Like, he can do both, and that's really going to give him a solid baseline, meet a perfect threshold as a rookie, going to already be a really good offensive lineman for the New York Giants. And of course, we know the tackle positions are ones that the Giants have struggled to address in years. Like, over the past few years, they've not been able to fix these positions. So hopefully, with Andrew Thomas at left tackle, they can go ahead in 2022, find their right tackle of the future, build a beautiful foundation out in front of Daniel Jones or whoever the next quarterback might be, and just build a great offensive line. Wouldn't that be phenomenal to see the Giants with a great offensive line? That would be amazing. But let's go ahead to the number 7 overall pick in this dream scenario. Now, we just talked about the offensive line, how badly we want to see the Giants have a good offensive line. But let's talk about defensive line, pass rush, right? Because we remember those 2 Super Bowls and how the pass rush turned on the heat in the playoffs, got to Tom Brady, won us those Super Bowls. You could not tell me that the Giants were winning those Super Bowls without the defensive line that they had, without Justin Tuck, Osi Umenyiora, Strahan in the first one, Jason Pierre-Paul in the second one. They had a plethora of pass rushers, and the Giants need to get back to that. Pass rushers can win you games, and Kayvon Thibodeaux would be a perfect selection at number 7 overall. Kayvon Thibodeaux, out of Oregon, edge rusher. This is a guy that, months ago was a lock-in to some people as the number 1 overall pick in this year's draft. Now, he's fallen down the board, and he's fallen kind of drastically at this point, because his combine had a lot of mixed reviews. I mean, he tested athletically great. He looked phenomenal. Actually, he tested very similarly to Myles Garrett, some said, according to the RAS relative athletic score. So he looked phenomenal at the combine, but there was a lot of discussion and controversy surrounding his interviews. Not only his interviews with the media, where some described him as overconfident, cocky, but also his interviews with the teams privately. A lot of people said that he blew some of those interviews, that some teams were rubbed the wrong way by Kayvon Thibodeaux and were not comfortable with the answers that he gave. So I don't know. That's all kind of behind the scenes. I can't really get you the inside info on that, but you can do some reading up on it, and you'll see that there are teams now, apparently, according to the rumor mill over in Indianapolis at the Combine, that are not too high on Kayvon Thibodeaux anymore. And that's something that Joe Schoen mentioned in his press conference, at his introductory press conference, right? He said, sometimes you're not missing on the player. The player is there, but the person, you might miss on the person. You don't want to misjudge the person and miss on the draft pick. So that could potentially be something that scares away the Giants, but I think it's more likely to be something that scares away the other teams in front of the Giants, pushing Kayvon Thibodeaux down the board. I think the Giants are at a position where they need an elite talent at number 7. They need an elite pass rusher on this roster. If he's there, no questions asked. If Kayvon Thibodeaux is on the board at number 7 overall, I think unless you're getting a major King's ransom draft trade down haul, you have to go with Kayvon Thibodeaux. Now, I know he only had 7 sacks this past season at Oregon, but he had a game where he had like 12 pressures. In the NFL, 12 pressures, that's going to lead to a lot of, bad passes from the quarterback. That's going to lead to a few sacks right there. He is a super talented pass rusher. He has a perfect physical ability, right? Like, he's so athletic. He's got all the athleticism in the world. He probably has the highest ceiling of any pass rusher in this draft class. That's what I hear a lot of the analysts say, the draft analysts like over at ESPN, the Draft Network. They all say Aiden Hutchinson is going to be like the top 3 pick in this draft and the number 1 edge rusher because he has the highest floor. And that's usually when you're going that high in the draft, you kind of want to go with people with the highest floor because you know that they're not going to be a bust. No matter what, Aiden Hutchinson is going to be at least an average or good pass rusher for his entire career. He's just got that baseline to him. Now, Kayvon Thibodeaux, they feel is a little more boom or bust, but I disagree. I think his floor is pretty high, and I think his ceiling is even higher. Now, yeah, I think the more polished and safer prospect probably is Aiden Hutchinson, but I think that Kayvon Thibodeaux is right up there with him. I think he's a phenomenal pass rusher. If the New York Giants were to go ahead and get Kayvon Thibodeaux, they can do a lot of things with their defense because you're pairing Azeez Ojulari, second year out of Georgia, was really good as a rookie, had double-digit sacks, with Kayvon Thibodeaux, arguably the best pass rusher in this year's draft class, on a rookie contract. Both of those guys being on rookie contracts, being as young as they are, is beautiful for the New York Giants, and this is why. When you take a look at secondary contracts in the NFL, we just saw the wide receiver market double, right? We just saw that thing boom. Stephon Diggs, when he got traded a couple years ago, got a $15 million per year contract. That was wild. We were all like, wow, Stephon Diggs, he got that bag. Now, Devontae Adams is making $30 million a year, right? Tyreek Hill is making $30 million a year. That market just doubled. But we've seen similar trends at pass rusher. We've seen similar trends at offensive tackle. Look at the contract that Teron Armstead just got from the Miami Dolphins in free agency. I mean, he's a player that, of course, the New Orleans Saints wanted to retain, but they couldn't afford to because offensive tackle contracts just ballooned out of their price range. Of course, you know, the Saints having all the cap problems that they've had in recent years. But that's why you take a look at offensive tackle, you take a look at edge rusher. Those are positions that you want to hit on in the NFL draft because it gives you that window of opportunity where you're getting 4 or 5 years, if it's a first-round pick with a fifth-year option, of really good play at a very expensive position for a fraction of the price. So when we had that debate a few episodes ago about Kayvon Thibodeaux at number 7 or Sauce Gardner at number 7, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, I said you got to go Kayvon Thibodeaux because if Kayvon Thibodeaux ends up panning out, you need to get that contract, right? Because Sauce Gardner, I mean, look at the Giants. They signed James Bradberry in free agency a couple years ago. Of course, they're in a bit of cap situation, and they're probably moving on from James Bradberry because of that. But that was a good contract. That wasn't super expensive. That didn't reach over $20 million. If you try and get a Pro Bowl edge rusher in free agency, you are definitely paying over $20 million per year. So that's kind of my mindset on that situation, because we can talk about number 7 dream scenarios. Some of you might say Ahmad Sauce Gardner is your dream pick at number 7. That's fine. I totally respect that. He is a great player. I think he's going to be a perfect fit. He would be a perfect fit in Wink Martindale's man-heavy defensive scheme. But I also think Kayvon Thibodeaux is going to be a perfect fit in Wink Martindale's pass rush heavy and blitz heavy defensive scheme. And again, the contracts are really key to me because Kayvon Thibodeaux, if you're getting him on a rookie contract for 4 or 5 years and he ends up being that Pro Bowl level player on his rookie contract that you expect him to be, that is such tremendous value. And it's better value than you would get from getting an elite cornerback on a contract like that. So that's my mindset on number 7, going pass rusher over anything in that scenario. But again, this is mine and Alex's dream scenario, going with Evan Neal at number 5. He's the most pro-ready and proven offensive tackle prospect in this year's draft. Is it very likely he falls to number 5? Maybe not. Is it all that likely that Kayvon Thibodeaux falls all the way to number 7? Maybe not. In all likelihood, Giants could end up going with Kayvon Thibodeaux at number 5 and taking the best tackle available at number 7. That's very possible, but we'll see how the draft shakes out. It's going to be really exciting. Of course, the rumor mill is going to continue to swirl. You're going to hear rumors about maybe Seattle trying to move up and get a quarterback, maybe Atlanta trying to move up and get a quarterback, and then you never know. We've seen talented players. Laramie Tunsil is one of them. I guess that situation was a little different for those of you who know, but we've seen players fall in the draft before. Think about even Josh Allen, not the quarterback, but the pass rusher from Kentucky. You know, everyone thought if he somehow makes it to number 6 overall, the Giants are absolutely going to draft him. Well, the Giants went with Daniel Jones instead, and he fell to 7 overall to the Jaguars, a team that never believed they could see him land in their laps. And of course, even think back to last year, offensive tackle position. Penei Sewell, for a long time, was considered to be the number 1 prospect in the draft, and people thought that he was going in the top 3 selections, continued to fall all the way into the laps of the Detroit Lions. Their general manager was jumping for joy in the war room, running and screaming and hugging everybody because they could not believe that Penei Sewell landed in their lap. So keep an eye on that. Keep that in mind. Evan Neal, while it doesn't seem too likely, it is very possible that he could fall in this year's draft and land into the laps of the New York Giants. And maybe Joe Shane will have a moment like the Lions GM where he's running around the war room kissing babies and having a great time, right? Could be pretty cool. I would love to see it. I want Evan Neal in New York Giants blue. I think he would look phenomenal along with Kayvon Thibodeaux. That is definitely my dream scenario in the first round. If the Giants are sticking and picking at 5 and 7, give me Evan Neal, give me Kayvon Thibodeaux, and I will give all of you a really great reaction on the live stream come April. So it's going to be really great. Again, stay tuned to Fireside Giants for all the draft updates and everything else New York Giants related content, daily uploads, all of it. And then, of course, make sure you tune into our draft live stream coming up next month. I can't wait for that. It's going to be so much fun. So I'll see you all there, and make sure you have a good one, and let's go Giants.